Hey guys, so I decided to make my own DIY fabric face mask. So it's not compulsory here in South Africa to wear a mask. So I decided to look up how to make one, and this is definitely beginner friendly. So stick around if you want to know how to make them. So this is basically a Mimi G mask pattern. I got this off of her YouTube page where she also linked the mask pattern in the description of her video. And the mask is about 13.5 centimeters wide, and the longest point of the mask is about 16 centimeters long from the bottom to the top. So I basically just got a fabric, I folded it in half, and then I pinned the fabric. I pinned the pattern to the fabric, and then I just cut out the pattern, and that's basically what I'm showing you guys here. And once I cut out the pattern, so basically this piece that I cut is for the outside part of the mask. So for the interior part of the mask, you just fold the pattern, and which is about 3.5 centimeters shorter than the outside of the mask. So that's how you basically fold the pattern to cut another piece, which will be 3.5 centimeters shorter. So that's the piece that you're going to use for the inside of the mask. So now I have my two pieces, both for inside and outside. So I'm using two different fabrics just because, I like both fabrics, and it's also better to just have two different fabrics to differentiate between the inside and outside, although it will actually be quite easy to differentiate between the two. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Also, for demonstration purposes, it was easier for me to use two different fabrics to show you guys the difference. So you basically start off by sewing the curved portion of the two separate pieces. So just sew the curved portion of the inside of the mask and sew the curved portion of the outside of the mask. And then once you're done with that, you pin the two right sides of both pieces together. So the right sides need to be facing each other before you move on to the next step. So now that the right sides of both pieces are facing each other, I'm going to sew the top of the mask. So from the edge of the interior piece to the other end, that's as far as I'm going to sew. So just sew the top portion of the mask, and then also sew the bottom portion of the mask. And then you'll be left with two openings on your left and your right side. So now that I've sewn the top and the bottom of the mask, now you turn the mask inside out, basically exposing the right side. So turn the mask around, and then you could iron out, the edges just to make it a lot neater. But right now, all I'm just going to do is iron the folds where I'm going to end up putting my elastic or my fabric or my whatever tie I'm going to use for the mask. I'm going to iron that area out. So I'm just demonstrating what I'm going to do. So I'm going to fold twice, basically, on either side of the mask. So these will be my slots for either my elastic or my tie or whatever I'm going to use. So now just make sure your iron is not too hot. So now I'm just ironing the flaps that I'm going to basically fold. And basically hem, I guess. So just iron that out, make it as neat as possible and as flat as possible. And then I'm just going to pin that down once I'm done ironing both sides. So once I'm done ironing both sides and I've pinned the ends down, I'm just going to sew that with a simple stitch, and that will be it. I always start by doing a back stitch on whenever I sew, so that just basically to secure my stitching. So I always start and end with a back stitch. So I've sewn both sides now of my mask. So the next step is to use either an elastic band or whatever you're going to use to secure the mask to your head. So in this case, I'm showing you guys different options. So there's the fabric, and then you could use maybe an elastic band from a bra that you're not using anymore, or you could find a stretchy top or skirt or leggings and just, cut that and use that as your tie for your mask. So I'm going to be using the fabric. So I'm just going to cut about 3 centimeters worth of fabric and use that. So I basically just cut from one end of the fabric to the other end. And that piece was about probably 1.5 meters long, which I then, so now this is basically the piece that I cut off. And for stretchy fabric like this, all you do is you just cut off like 3 centimeters of the fabric, and then you stretch out the fabric. And as you can see now, the stretch part of the fabric is kind of like creating like a rope type of effect. So it's basically creating a little tie, so that's all I'm basically doing. I'm just stretching out the fabric so that it can, roll up on itself. And then once it rolls up on itself, I just cut this into 2 pieces. So this will be enough for me to make ties for 2 masks. So yeah, that's pretty much how I'm going to use. That's pretty much the method I'm using, because I don't have elastic bands. So this is the method I'm going to use. So you can also try this if you don't have elastic bands at home. So now I just take a safety pin, and I just put it on the one end of my fabric. And then I pass that through the opening on my mask. So I put that in from the top of the mask to the bottom, and then I pass it on to the other side of the mask. So once I pull it out from the other side, to make sure that the tie doesn't fall out of the mask, I tie some knots on either end of the fabric just to secure it in place. And that's pretty much it, guys. That is basically how I make my mask. It's really, really simple and easy. So this is basically me demonstrating how I put on my mask. It's really simple to put on. And then you just pull on the tie to make it as secure as you want it on your head, depending on the size of your head. So it's really, really versatile, depending on, it can be worn on different, head sizes, because the straps are long enough to be adjusted to suit your head. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much how I make my face mask. I hope you guys try it out if you can. And yeah, stay safe, and don't forget to wash your hands, and always wear a mask when you leave the house. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.